Welcome, Heri, to Metaladium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Here, this new album, Battle Ballads, and obviously more things related to the metal world in general. So we are starting by asking how was the band been during the last years? Because your last album, Hell, was released in 2019. Now, now years later, we have this new Battle Ballads.
Yeah, it's been a quiet few years because of the pandemic. We've more or less stopped touring when the pandemic hit, and now finally looks like we're getting back on the road with this album. The pandemic also gave us some peace and quiet, honestly, to focus on the music. We did some changes, and just very excited to finally be able to release new music and get back on the road. About damn time. It's the longest stretch we've gone without touring for, since we started.
Oh, okay. You are working well. Always Theory is working. What since 4 albums, 5 albums, or fifth albums? Theory is working with the big labels like Naval Records. Now you are with one of the biggest ones, Metal Blade Records. So how do you see this path in here since you released? How far to Oscar?
A lot has changed. That was we founded the band in 1998. We made the first album in 2001, and a lot has changed. Our approach to music has changed, or mine has at least. The band has improved extremely. We've gathered expertise or know-how over time, both with songwriting and recording and production and everything. And I hope people will agree it has changed for the better. When you start, you don't really know what you're doing, or looking back, that's what I think. At least we didn't really know what we were doing. But of course, we're happy for anyone who likes the early albums. But for my part, at least, I'm more pleased with what we're doing now.
Okay. So over the tail, well, how many difference you encounter or you find in these new battle ballads compared to the Hell?
This is very different, I think, to the Hell album. When we made Hell, we were making songs more complicated and longer and more intricate, just adding stuff as much as we thought it needed, much like we did maybe with the Ragnarok album. For this one, we decided consciously to keep it short and concise and not test the listener's patience. So apart from that, it's the same approach as ever. Make the best melodies and the best harmonies and chord progressions and arrangements that we can, but try and keep it short and listenable. So this album is considerably shorter, and the songs are much more, I think, listenable, more straight to the point and more catchy.
Okay. Well, talking about now from the battle ballads, as you can see now, the world's changing very fast, especially the music industry. As you can see, the methods to promote the music is like the old times, just with singles, and the people hear the music just by singles now. That's why the people are creating playlists in YouTube and Tidal, I don't know, many more platforms. So for this aspect, for you, which song or songs capture whole textures and essence that this battle ballads has?
That is difficult. Probably the singles that we've released so far. There will be one more single before the release of the album, and then there's one focus track when we release the album. I would say those 3 or 4 songs, maybe. It's very hard to say. It's a slightly diverse album. The ones we released so far, Axis and Hammered, are maybe the more up-tempo and intense songs on the album. Some of the other ones are a bit more mellow, not mellow compared to metal, not mellow music at all. So I would say maybe the second single, Hammered, captures it best. It's also the opener of the album. So I think people can determine by listening to that if they're going to like the album.
Okay. Okay. Other detail about talking about the career from there. When you start your career in 2002 with the album How Far to Asgard, you decide at that time to create something more folk, something extreme, this kind of stuff. That's naturally. But when time pass and you release more than 8 albums now, you so for you, why do you decide to lean down to the progressive area? Because these new battle ballads do hell has progressive elements into the music. Well, you obviously you grow as a musician, that's normally, but do you think this grow up is very naturally, or perhaps it was different, or perhaps was a conscious decision?
Um, I think the most reason I became a progressive musician and started liking progressive music myself is because of Dream Theater. I was a huge Dream Theater fan when they made their second and third album, and I still am. And there was some slightly progressive music before that. Iron Maiden, I loved since I heard it first time when I was 14. There are progressive elements here and there, and that's how I like to keep it with our music. Maybe with Eric the Red and Ragnarok, we went overboard into the progressive direction, and we've scaled it down since. It was Hill was a bit more progressive, and this one, Battle Ballads, it has progressive elements, as you say, but it's not progressive metal as such. I like to keep it a bit progressive here and there, simply because I like progressive music. I like progressive musicians' styles, and if you keep it to on a balance, I think it fits well with our music. Um, the heavy metal, folk music, and classical and progressive stuff together. As long as we avoid the 5-minute solos of John Petrucci and Jordan Rudess, then I think we have a decent balance, and I like it.
Okay. Well, talking about now other kind of aspects. So for you, which album from Tyr define the sound, the completely sound that Tyr has now?
Um, well, first and foremost, we have a basic heavy metal lineup: drums, two guitars, bass, and vocals, and a bit of choirs. And that is the first focus when I arrange the music. And then um, the whole thing is arranged in a classical way. I like to arrange music harmonically and melodically as you would a classical music. So it's very harmonized and maybe progressive in the harmonic way. And after that, you just add layers of harmonies and vocals and guitars and the orchestration also in the end, and there you have our sound. And add to that the fact that most of the melodies are based on traditional Scandinavian and Nordic melodies, and the lyrics as well, based sometimes on traditional Faroese and Nordic lyrics, and in other cases on myths and legends from the Nordic region and the Faroes.
Okay, okay. Interesting to know. So for you, well, you mentioned that you are very fan from Dream Theater. Also, you are fan from the traditional instruments, the folk metal scene. So now, how do you see these new improvements into the metal scene since 2015? Because as you can see, a lot of bands are playing with experimental, avant-garde. I don't know. A lot of mixtures happen now in the world. So how do you see now these new mixtures in the metal scene? Obviously, with your influence too.
I think generally it's okay. I mean, there will always be new styles, new influences, new waves, new trends, and new genuine stuff. We have found ourselves kind of in the same place since we started. We play a basic heavy metal, then with some historic and traditional twists and some classic and orchestral directions also, but basically just straightforward heavy metal. Other genres go in more, what can you call it, ethereal ways, or more experimental ways. It's fine. I like some of it. I don't like all of it. It's good to see that there's development, and it's all also connected to the Scandinavian scene. The more, the merrier, honestly. I don't listen to all of it, but I like the fact that it's there.
Okay. One detail that I always saw in the lyrics for Fear is that as you mentioned, you talk about the mythology, paganism, this kind of stuff. But usually, when I don't know. Usually, when fans read this paganism aspect, all automatically the people related with the pagan music, pagan black metal, pagan etc. But curiously, if we relate the sounds from the pagan mythology or pagan histories, there is no way to relate a music with the concept pagan, because pagan is more a concept than the music. If we spoke about the music, it's more folk in this kind of aspect. So for you, what is the exactly definition that the people said about the paganism or pagan metal?
You're right. It's a strange thing. Paganism is a religion. Folk is a style of music, and Viking is a historic, a geographic historic time. And honestly, I stay out of all that. We didn't set out to make pagan or Viking or folk music. Those labels came from journalists and from the music labels, the record labels, and how to define it precisely is probably impossible. If people want to use those terms, it's fine with me. I'd like to avoid having to define them, because I think it's probably impossible.
Okay. You mentioned also that you are talking about the mythology, histories of the past in general from Scandinavia. That's normally for this aspect. For you, which history for you belong, or how he needs to get more attention from the people compared to usually things that torn the mythology aspect for the Nordic scene. So for you, which mythology that's captured your attention and need to be more attention for the public?
I named the band Tyr because I was very fascinated by the story about the god Tyr, and those I wanted to bring attention to that, the wolf Fenrir, and the chaining of the wolf, and the bravery and self-sacrifice of the god Tyr. That the more obscure part of mythology. If you look at gods like Odin and Thor, there are plenty of stories about them, and they are known to the general public. I would say probably over all the world. When it comes to deities like Tyr and Brage and other ones, I would say the stories about Fenrir and Tyr are worth people's attention, and that's why I
Okay.
call the band Tyr.
Okay. Talking about now the promotion of this new album. So, what kind of promotion or what kind of plans do you have for these new battle ballads? Perhaps you will embark on more tours. Perhaps you will come to Southern or Latin America. Who knows? US. What kind of plans do you have? More videos? Who knows?
Videos, yes. More singles, yes. Tours, we're going on tour in North America, starting on the 28th of March until 26th of April, US and Canada. We'd love to go to Mexico, Central and South America, but unfortunately, it's not been possible to arrange that yet. Our team is working on it at the moment, and eventually we will come to Brazil. We have a few more festivals lined up later this year in the Faroes and in Europe. There will be more tours and festivals announced. So the main focus right now is just to get back on the road. We haven't been on the road properly since 2019. And that is, of course, to promote this album and get the whole project up and running again.
Okay.
And then interviews like this one.
Okay. Other detail, well, talking far away from the concept from theater, the concept of the album, or this kind of the music in general. As I mentioned in the first question, talking about other kind of things. As you can see now, the metal in the world is well more accepted. As you can see, the social media promote how to paint a corpse, how to paint a corpse paint in
Yeah,
YouTube, this
yeah,
kind of stuff. This funny, or how to do a true black metal in a concert, in a festival, etc. That's curious things to see on YouTube. So, but as you can see this, if we compare with the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and I remember one thing, one interview with Bruce Dickinson, what created through Number of the Beast, and say, and a lot of people say that the Iron Maiden it is a satanic band, belongs to satanic people, just for the song. And Bruce Dickinson say that is, I create this lyric just for the peace of one something. So to peace of one something, and that's normally that's the metal was so against something, against religion, against the trash appears in the world with the same aspect with economics, so punk either way. So rock in general has to fight against something into the lyrics. That's a good thing about the rock in that times. But since the social media starts and the trends starts, as I mentioned, the corpse paint, other kind of thing, as you can see, the metal doesn't have other things to fight, because now if you are satanist, there are religion, satanist church. If you are against the economic, there's a group that are against the economic, against the politics, etc., etc. That's normal. That's for the trends. So some people or all people thinks that the metal lose the essence to fight against something, because we don't have against more fight to, well, one concept to fight. And other people say that it's good for the metal scene that you are more understand that you are compared to the other eras. So for you, do you think the metal lose this kind of essence to fight against something, or perhaps it's good for the metal to understand, well, to very well know for a lot of people?
when I was young and listened to started listening to metal, I didn't necessarily feel it was fighting against anything. It was maybe to a large degree anti-establishment, or at least to a considerable degree. But that was not the angle that fascinated me at all. What I liked was the upliftedness and life affirming feeling of listening to really good metal, like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Metallica, TNT, even bands like Europe and that's not a fight against anything necessarily. It's maybe a fight against your own darker side, um, trying to inspire people. I felt very inspired and extremely uplifted, and that's what I go for when I write music. That's the feeling of epicness and inspiration that I aim for when I write music. And I think that comes from sense of aesthetics. If you make aesthetically pleasing music in an epic way, that's the effect that it has on people. So I never felt the need to make music that fights against anything specific. I should maybe mention I have written 2 or 3 songs that are about against very specific topics. It does happen, but that's not the main mission that we're on here. It's more general inspiration, epicness, and life affirming feeling that I go for. So it's against um, fighting against the darkness within, maybe rather than anything else.
Hmm. Okay. And with this aspect, as you can see now, there's a lot of productions releasing each week. I remember, because I'm from the 80s, and obviously I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and I remember that the and I remember and I remember in the 90s, per month will be, well, it were, I think, 30 releases per month, or for 2 months 30 releases at least. And obviously this, and until the beginning of 2000s, 30 releases per 3 months, or 15 releases for 3 months. That's normally that time. But now each week each week since the 2 years ago. We have 30 releases, 50 releases by end of the week. Fridays have a lot bring new music for this. And now the metal scene is growing out with new bands. A lot of things happen. So some people say that metal is now too saturated to see bigger bands now, obviously, because there's a lot of bands, there's a lot of productions, there's a lot of singles, there's a lot of videos. I don't know, a lot of things happening in one weekend. So for you, what will gonna happen when the main bands, here Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, the big bands in all the styles disappears completely from the earth, and now just the new bands appear in the world, but we have a lot of bands that's impossible to catch to say this band is more important than this other one. So what's your point of view now about the oversaturated releases each week?
I see what you mean. I have the same feeling with festivals. There are more and more festivals, but they still can sell enough tickets and have enough bands. It seems like the scene is just growing and growing, and if there's room for it, if people can listen to it, if they can buy it, if these bands can all get to festivals and play for people and make a living, I mean, why not? Why not? I don't keep up very much with new music, honestly. I don't know all the new bands. I listen to the same things for years, decades even, and so I don't see it that way. But I do notice in our own career and with our own booking that there are more and more festivals, and it just seems impossible that it keeps growing, but it does, and I think that's a good thing in general. You're not, as a journalist, I'm sure you notice, you can see all the new releases, but as a musician myself, I don't really keep up with the new releases, so I don't see it that way. But I would say in general, it's a good thing.
Okay. Well, well, Harry, the sad times are up at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one like me. I know a lot more from here, and obviously about your point of view about the new eras in the metal scene. So, congratulations on this new album, Battle Ballads. It's a great one. It's usually under your line of your kind of music because this as I mentioned, you're a progressive folk. You have a lot of things there. That's a lot from the music from here. So this kind. So perhaps do you want to add something to your Latin American fans and obviously Metallica followers?
Yeah, our album Battle Ballads comes on the 12th of April. It can be pre-ordered already now on metalblade.com/tier, and we will eventually come to South America and to Brazil.